and that gives to the birth of distributed systems. Hello everyone, welcome to the first video on this channel. This video will be a foundational video in which we will be talking about some of the categories and some of the components in an overview. These components will be discussed in details in this channel, and if you do have any questions or any feedbacks, please do let me know in the comment sections. Let's get started. Thank you. So let's start with the first concept as software systems. What do we mean by a software system is when we look at a software is usually composed of smaller components. When these components comes together to build a business product as a whole or a core product as a whole, we call that as a software system. Now, we can classify these software systems in different ways. One of the way that we can classify them is as an uh, offline system, an online system, or a hybrid system. What do I mean by an offline system? An offline system is the one in which the functionality, the core functionality of the software is present without the internet itself. So take an example as Photoshop. The main functionalities of Photoshop is present inside it without having an internet connection. That is an offline system. Or you can take few of the mobile apps or the desktops app which do have their functionalities without even connected to the internet. So take an example as Photoshop. What do I mean by an online system? An online system is the one in which the functionality is provided to the user when it is connected directly to the internet. We don't actually own a lot of its components in our local machines. So for example, when we talk about websites, right? You do visit a website, you get the function that you want to get it done there, the objective, whatever you want to do on a website, and then you just close your browser. You don't actually hold any component of the website. A website, for example, Wikipedia. You go to Wikipedia, you want to know about a specific article, you get that information, and your job is done. So that is an example of an online system. Now, there comes another type, that is the hybrid systems, and these are the ones which are majorly now covered in the industry. What do I mean by a hybrid system is that this is a combination of both online and offline system. Few of the functionalities are present inside the app offline, and the few of the functionality when we do want them to perform in whole is present when they are connected to the internet or when they are online. For example, take your mobile apps. Okay, best example that I can think of is a multiplayer game. Now you can download a game, you can play it offline, but let's say that you wish to play it when you want to play it online with your friends, you do need to get connected to the internet. So for example, let's say Call of Duty mobile, right? We do need to get connected to the internet so that we can play it with our game with our friends. Another way that we can classify the softwares is by considering them as a front end software or a back-end software. Now, this is one of the popular classification, and what do we mean by both? When we talk about a front-end software, we mean that the components of an application which is visible to the client or the end user is developed in a front-end system. For example, when you talk about a website, right? The visuals that we see, the UI, the user experience that we see, or when we have our phone applications, the app that you do see is considered as a front-end systems, which covers the UI experience to the user. So these are visible to the user, visible to users. Okay, few of the languages in which these are majorly made is HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Now, uh, with JavaScript, there are now present a lot of frameworks which do help to develop these front end much more faster and in a much more better ways. So we have frameworks which are related to these a lot. So for example, when we do talk about React is a framework which is made out of JS and which helps us to develop the software in a front end. Now, the other category as the backend. A backend is actually the logical layer of a software. The logical layer means the main processing in which and the main computation that happens of a software is usually done in a backend, or this is known as the logical layer. Or another way that I can classify this as, this is known as a data access layer. So this is the place where the user's data usually resides. So when we do want to have a query about a specific data, the control usually goes to the backend of a software and then we get the data from there. So this is also known as the data access layer. Data access layer. So another difference with backend is that this logic is usually not visible to the front end user. So not visible to the user. It is majorly that you know a software works, it does the job when you ask it to do, but you don't actually know beneath the code how they actually do it. That logic resides in backend systems. Now, how do these two classification of software does actually talks to each other? So they do talk to each other with something known as an API, or application programming interface, which does talks to both of the parties and transmit the data from one side to another side. We will be talking about APIs in detail in the coming videos. We can classify the software systems based on the way that they store the data, and that is known as the centralized data system or a decentralized data system. Now these are properly also known as DApps. What do we mean by that? In a In a centralized system, there is usually one entity which holds the majority of the data of the user. For example, you have Instagram, right? We make a post on Instagram. We know that it gets uploaded to our phone and it gets stored in Instagram servers. This is where the most of the data of the users resides, right? And this is, we know one entity, that is Instagram servers, which holds all of the users data. So this is one of the way that we know a category of software, that is centralized systems. So this one entity holds users data. A decentralized system, the user data is usually distributed amongst all of the peers who are present inside this network. A decentralized system is usually made up of smaller components which we call as a peers, and a network of mesh which is created by these peers. And all of these peers have small amount of data which is distributed all amongst these. So the data is distributed in the peers. So no one single entity holds all of the users data. A popular example of this can be, let's say, Bitcoin, as which gave the foundation of the same, and in that a better one can be Ethereum. Ethereum is a technology of completely decentralized applications. Now, another popular category in which the softwares can be classified, and I believe this is one of a very important category and usually asked very much in interviews as well. That is a monolith system versus a microservices system. Microservices. A monolith system is the one in which the components are coupled together very tightly, and it usually resides in just one system. So let's say that you do have a website. All of the smaller components of a website, let's say that component 1, 2, and 3, are within one computer, or they are connected to each other in a very tight string that cannot be taken out from one another. So the components are overlapping and interconnected too much. Okay, and we can say one more point as usually everything is in one system. A physical system is in one big system. Let's say mainframe computers, those were the monolith systems. Okay, now another and one of the final classification is the microservices one, and probably one of the most interesting one as well. A microservices system is usually composed of smaller components which comes up together in a certain way and then makes out the software as a whole. So in these ones we do have our individual systems, individual components which gets connected to form a system. Okay, so let's say that we do have component 1, 2, and 3 again. They do have an identity of their own and they do exist independently as well. When we do want to make a software out of it, we take them, we combine them together in a certain way to get the desired output that we need. Now, a microservices system can be present within just one single machine, or it can be present in different machines, or the components can be present in different machines which gets connected to each other and then make the computer. So, can be in one machine or multiple. Now, when microservices systems try to increase in size, there lies few software and few hardware requirements which are not directly fulfilled when they are residing in just one single machine. And that gives to the birth of distributed systems, which we will be talking in detail in the future videos, how and what are the problems in are which are faced by the microservices and in monolith services, which leads to the foundations of distributed systems, the benefits and the problems that comes along with the distributed systems as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you do have any of the doubts, please do let me know in the comments. I will be posting out the notes of this in the repositories and in the links below. So please check out that as well. And thank you.